Hey guys, I wanted to give you just a quick update of what's going on around the world, more specifically over with the NATO drills that commenced today. I did a video on this a few days ago, but there's been some other stuff that has been taking place, so I just wanted to give you a quick update. So this is out of the Independent today. NATO allies launched largest military exercise since end of Cold War in clear message to Russia. A large-scale military training exercise involving more than 20 NATO and partner countries is kicked off in Poland, part of efforts to reassure East European nations rattled by Russia's actions in nearby Ukraine. For more than 10 days, 30,000 troops backed by large numbers of vehicles, aircraft, and ships will be deployed in one of the biggest exercises on NATO's eastern flank since the end of the Cold War, a move likely to put further strain on the already tense relations between the Kremlin and the West. The Anaconda 16 exercise, which includes maneuvers such as nighttime helicopter assault and the dropping of U.S. paratroopers to build a temporary bridge over the Vistula River, is being held 1 month before a NATO summit in Warsaw that will approve even more troops to be stationed in Eastern Europe. The goal of Anaconda 16 is to train, exercise, and integrate the Polish National Command and force structures into an allied joint multinational environment, the U.S. Army Europe stated. The United States will provide around 14,000 troops for the exercise, the largest foreign contingent. Non-NATO countries such as Sweden and Finland are also taking part in the exercise. Poland joined NATO in 1999, a decade after the demise of Moscow-backed communism in Eastern Europe. Warsaw has been very critical of Moscow's actions in Ukraine and has repeatedly urged NATO to boost its presence in Polish territory. Russia has accused the U.S.-led alliance of threatening its security by expanding eastwards and has warned of retaliation. NATO says exercises such as Anaconda and plans for the deployment of more troops to the region are a defensive response to Russia's annexation of Ukraine's Crimea region and its support for separatists in eastern Ukraine. So, we all know, those of us who've been following what has been happening since the whole Crimea fiasco, we all know now that it was a complete coup in Ukraine. It was a Western-backed Ukraine. George Soros helped fund it. That cat's out of the bag. It's been disclosed. We all know that. And the whole deal with Crimea, you can argue that till the cows come home. But at the end of the day, over 3/4 of the Russian population in Crimea voted for the referendum for Russia to retake control of Crimea. So basically, the excuse that NATO is giving, saying that their buildup on the eastern flank of Russia is in response to Crimea and Ukraine, is complete bullshit. We all know that. They are prepping for war. They are provoking war with Russia and also China. They are trying to get this war started. And it seems like every day we wake up and it's something new that's going on, that is leading up to this global conflict that we know is inevitable and going to happen. It looks like this year, in my opinion. So, Iron Wolf 5,000 take part in NATO drill in Lithuania. Some 5,000 NATO troops are to take part in the Iron Wolf 2016 War Games, Lithuania's largest this year. The exercise started on Monday and involved some heavy military hardware deployed for the occasion by visiting members of the alliance. The first active phase of the drill brings together soldiers from hosting Lithuania, the U.S. National Guard, and Poland. Soldiers from Germany, Denmark, France, and Luxembourg are to join them for the second phase on June 12th. Several dozen French troops are taking part in the Latvian drill for the first time. NATO has ramped up military presence in the Baltic states and Poland on their request, claiming that it is necessary to prevent an attack from Russia. Moscow rejects harboring any aggressive plans against the alliance and says the bloc is drumming up an anti-Russian hysteria to justify increased defense spending in Europe. So we've got troops, 5,000 in Lithuania. We've got 30,000 Polish troops on the move, and then we've got 10,000 NATO allies, including 14,000 U.S. troops. So there's 30,000 of them altogether for this Anaconda drill that's going on. Russia is calling the U.S. missile defense system a direct threat. So we've got, obviously, if you look at a map here, you've got Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania. So we've got Russia here, obviously, and the anti-ballistic missile defense systems are set up in Romania right now, and then they're soon to be set up in Poland. And all the exercises are taking place through Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. So going north up from Poland, which is right on the border of Russia, and the U.S. is coming out claiming that these are all these drills and all the deployments of the missile defense systems are to deter any sort of Middle Eastern aggression, more specifically Iran. So, which doesn't make sense logistically. If they considered Iran a threat, they would be deploying all of their forces and all of their missiles and everything like that, and training probably more on the southern border of Poland into Romania and Bulgaria, and even possibly Italy. But instead, they are doing all this training north of Poland, these four Baltic states right here, right on the edge of Russia. And NATO continues to call Russia the aggressor, which is not the case. We all know that Russia is just being goaded into this war, unfortunately, and it's not looking pretty. Things are just getting, the pressure is building day by day. So we've also got U.S. Navy deploys most carrier strike groups since 2012. For the first time in nearly 4 years, the U.S. Navy has 4 aircraft carrier strike groups deployed at the same time. 2 more carriers are carrying out local operations, making for 6 of the fleet's 10 active carriers underway, an unusually high percentage, and another is preparing to go. The departure June 4th of the Ronald Reagan from Japan, coupled with the June 1st deployment of the Dwight D. Eisenhower group from the U.S. East Coast, doubled the number of deployed groups. The Harry S. Truman is in the Eastern Med, conducting combat strikes against ISIS targets in Syria and Iraq, and the John C. Stennis group is continuing operations in the South China Sea. So the Truman just left the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, and is now headed toward the Eastern Med, and they're saying that they're conducting airstrikes against ISIS, which we all know is bullshit. They're just bombing the desert pretty much. This is just more smokescreen cover for their deployment, and they're moving around of their hardware. So they've got they've also got the Carl Vinson and George Washington aircraft carriers are cruising off the west and east coasts and are undergoing training. A 7th carrier, the Norfolk-based George H.W. Bush, is expected to be underway for training operations in June. And so, as you can see here, they've got all these aircraft carriers moving into position that obviously carry tons of hardware and U.S. fighter jets and what have you. So, lastly, I want to get into just touch on Syria. Turkish troops militants mass in Aleppo. From the Russian Monitor, this is out of Press TV. A Russian ceasefire monitoring center in Syria has more than 2,000 militants have gathered in northern neighborhood of the embattled city of Aleppo for an offensive. In a statement, the center said Saturday that militants from different terrorist organizations and groups of the so-called moderate opposition, which there's no such thing, are concentrated in the region of Sheikh Muskud. Now listen to this. Quoting civilians in Aleppo, the center said armed groups partly made up of Turkish soldiers had appeared north of the city and begun an offensive against positions held by Syrian troops southwest of Aleppo. So they're saying that civilians have seen Turkish troops basically side by side with the quote-unquote moderate rebels, which we all know there's no such thing. Basically, this is saying that Turkish troops have entered Syria. They're side by side with ISIS and al-Nusra Front, and they've begun their assault on Aleppo. And while that's happening, Russia has increased their air support threefold, and they are vowing air support for Syrian troops in Aleppo. So we've got Russian troops in Syria with air support. We've got Turkish troops now in Syria with al-Nusra. They are all gathering around Aleppo, and basically this is going to go hot. It just takes one shot across the bow for a Turkish soldier to die or a Russian soldier to die, and boom goes the dynamite, and World War III starts. So we've got Syria, we've got NATO and Russia. This thing is primed and ready to go, people. If you don't believe me, you need to do your research and wake the hell up, because World War III is here. I will see you in my next video with any updates I have. Take care.